I'm going to share with you the number one mistake that I see founders of companies making. It's trying to figure out everything on your own. And I'm going to show you the exact solution that I've used and dozens of other founders have used to great success. What prompted this was I was on a coaching call this morning with a very successful entrepreneur, but they were in this case of trying to figure out everything themselves. They thought they needed to know the answers. Now, they were smart enough to take on a coach, but what they hadn't done was they hadn't put a group of smart people around them that they could bounce ideas off. Now, when I was a young entrepreneur, dumb entrepreneur, struggling entrepreneur, not very successful entrepreneur, I at least had the smarts to go out and find successful entrepreneurs, and I would buy them lunch or I'd buy them coffee, and I would try and learn everything I could from them. Now, when I was trying to raise capital later in my entrepreneur journey, what I realized was that by taking that advice and formalizing it into an advisory board actually gave me huge credibility. With one of the companies that I talk about in my books, Fitness Buffet, I was able to go from struggling to raise money at a $1 million valuation to easily raising capital at a $10 million valuation just because I put an advisory board around me. Now, here's the interesting thing. There are 330 million companies in the world, and yet less than 1% of them have an active functioning board. And yet every successful company you can think of has an active functioning board. So why is it that the majority of companies don't have one? Well, probably you're like me in the early days. You tended to think of a board as being something that is expensive, something that you only do when you get much further ahead in your business. And you probably questioned why you would want a board if, from what you've seen about boards, it tends to be paying people to tell you that you can't do things. And the whole point of being an entrepreneur was that you were able to kind of do what you wanted to do. So why would you want that? Well, first of all, I want to say the difference between a board when you're scaling and a board when you're fully grown and a more mature business. So when you're scaling, what you want is a board around you that will help you grow, that will give you connections, that will give you advice that can make a world of difference. And so they're very different things. And what I tend to refer to early stage boards as advisory boards. So there's three key points really. One is, what is an advisory board? Two is, how do you get one? And three is, how does it happen without costing you money? First off, what is an advisory board? An advisory board is basically a group of individuals with different backgrounds, different experiences, different contacts from you that you can just meet with on a regular basis, typically once a month for an hour or two, just to have a conversation about your business. It's a chance for you to bounce your wins, bounce your challenges off a different audience and hear from them how they would approach that problem. Now, you know as well as I do that when you're in the business, you're dealing with fires all the time, you've got everything going on. One connection can make a huge difference in your business. One introduction to a new client or to an investor or to a key staff member can completely change everything for your business. And so an advisory board that can sit outside of the day-to-day operations but think strategically about your business can make a huge difference. And by the way, if you're trying to raise capital, having an advisory board makes you look like a much more mature business. It shows the investors, it gives you some credibility that you wouldn't have as a single entrepreneur. And that also counts as well when you're trying to attract clients. If they see that you have an advisory board, it just makes you a more mature business. And the same for attracting good staff to come and work with you. So that's what it is. The second one is, how do you get it? Now, when I was a young entrepreneur, the way I did it was I basically went out networking. I tried to meet interesting people. If they seemed interesting at the networking events, I would take them out for a coffee. If they still seemed interesting and useful, I would invite them to be on my advisory board. And if I was lucky, they would agree to that. And over time, I kind of learned what were the things that I needed to promise them in order to get them to do that. Now there's a much, much easier way. So at the Veblen Director Program, which is one of the companies that I own, we actually take individuals, ambitious, driven professionals and entrepreneurs in their own right, train them on how to be good board members, and then they're looking for board experience. So all you need to do is fill in the form, which is probably on a link here, there, or somewhere, which basically go to veblendirectors.com and click on For Companies, fill in that form. Doesn't cost you anything, and instantly that will be put in front of a whole bunch of really talented individuals who will reach out for you, and they'll come and sit on your advisory board for 6 to 12 months. Now, the third question is, why would they do that for free? Why isn't this going to cost you anything? Well, look, first of all, if you are a business owner, I'm pretty sure that you haven't got tons of cash floating around, and if you do, you probably have other priorities right now. So we don't want to take capital away from you. And look, this isn't a proper board of directors. They don't have legal responsibility to all stakeholders. They are there to help you grow, but they're also there to give themselves some experience of sitting on boards, which they can then leverage to sit on boards in the future. Now, typically the way this works is they will come and sit on your advisory board for 6 to 12 months. If at the end of that time they've been really, really valuable and you want to keep working with them, then sure, you can offer them something to carry on working with you. That might be cash, that might be a slice of deals that they bring in, it might be equity in the company. That's entirely up to you and them to sort out at a later date. But for the first 6 to 12 months, it's just a getting to know you process. Now, this works really, really well. We have helped dozens and dozens of companies to do this. It can be hugely transformational for companies. We've helped hundreds of individuals. And by the way, as a business owner yourself, you should definitely be thinking about sitting on 2 or 3 other boards of companies. Now, I know you're probably thinking, well, look, I'm already working 24 hours, 7 days a week. I haven't got time to think about anybody else's business. But actually, it's a great way to learn about how other companies have dealt with problems that you have. Businesses aren't actually that different. There's a lot of similarities, a lot of things. I'm sure there's a lot of knowledge and wisdom that you've learned over the years that you can share with those companies and in return get back. So it's something else to think about. So final wrapping up on this is just to say that the biggest mistake I see entrepreneurs and founders having is trying to do too much themselves. The easiest hack that I've ever found for solving that problem is to surround yourself with smart people. A great way of formalizing that is to create an advisory board. If you want to do one that doesn't cost you anything, then Veblen Directors already trains up talented people. You can apply for that, get one set up in literally a couple of weeks. You can be set up and running, and hopefully it will make a complete transformation in terms of the connections, the credibility, and the opportunities that come to you over the next 12 months. I wish you every success. Being a founder is a very tough job, and quite frankly, we all need all the help we can get. So I wish you every success with it.